is no longer really an opportunity or choice, it's an imperative. To telling the story, how do we make sure that we're taking full advantage of any and all assets that are on the grid and at customer premises.
Welcome, everybody, to the EI360 podcast. My name is Sandi and I'm joined with David Swink, our CEO here at enx ei360. David, this month we have had really packed full of wonderful guests and information regarding digital twins. We visited our digital operations center. We went to our energy yard, talking about connecting physical assets on the grid. We talked with Lynn and really kind of brushed the subject of interoperability. And today, David, we have an equally amazing guest. I'm so excited to hear his point of view, and I'm going to let you introduce him.
Well, Sandi, thank you. And I think every week, Sandi, we probably are saying we're excited about our guests because like we have individuals that really bring such insightful, thoughts to the subject matter, especially that we're talking about now on digital twins. And so it's been really exciting to hear the different insights. And Ted Wilmes, who's with us today, is going to share with us more insights into this world of digital twins and graph technology. And so, Ted, thank you for joining us today. It's great to have you with us. And Ted is the lead architect for the enx ei360 platform. And Ted, I before we ask you a few questions, just to kind of share some introductory comments and thoughts. A statement that I've heard, it's not my quote, but it's a quote I've heard, that the way we think about our past informs us what we think is possible today and in the future. And I think that is so true about organizations. I think all of us know we get stuck in paradigms in our worlds. I think as leaders, it sometimes is very difficult to even get our heads around some of the ideas such as digital twins and machine learning and artificial intelligence, graph technology, and so forth. John C. Maxwell, Ted, once wrote a book called the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And the first law in that book was the law of the lid. And he talks about how each one of us have, basically lids in our lives. In other words, that lid being how far we can think outside the box or see into the future. And, I got to say, Ted, one of the things that has taken me probably years to learn and realize, and I should have learned it a lot sooner in my life, is that it's people like you that help people like myself and others raise our lid or to remove the lid. I really would encourage in many ways our audience, especially those who are sitting in leadership roles, to really understand that today with the exponential capabilities of technologies and things like digital twins, to really embrace individuals like you and others who understand these technologies, understand the impact they can have on organizations, and enable that to really raise our lids, to empower us to do things we never thought possible before. And so I want you to know, Ted, you've done that for enx, and for that we want to say thank you, and we appreciate you and everything that you bring to enx and what you continue to bring. And really with that in mind, one of the things I really would like to start with, Ted, is from your perspective. You live this, you see it, you understand it. And I know probably there's times you want so much for other people to hear it and understand it as well. But I'd really like for you to begin with just sharing with the audience how impactful a digital twin can be in this world of digitization, smart everything. And not only how impactful it can be, but how important really graph technology is to that construct of a digital twin. So with that, Ted, again, great to have you here, and I'll turn it over to you to expand upon those questions.
Oh, I appreciate it, David. And thanks for having me. Yeah, so I think the way that I think about the digital twin and software in general is that when we're building a software application, and this has been true throughout the history of software applications, we're really trying to build a model of something. In the case of a digital twin, we're trying to build a model of usually something that's in the physical world. So in our case, an electrical grid. Maybe if you work for for Boeing, it's an airplane or something like that. And the higher fidelity that we make that model in software, the more that we can do with it. So if we can build an incredibly high fidelity model, we can use it for reporting, analytics, alerts, all sorts of different things that are incredibly important to actually operating these things in the physical world. And one of the enabling technologies that I think is, of course, a little bit newer here is that when you're building a model, you want to have tools that are well adapted to kind of how you would actually really lay that out in the real world. And so that's where graph databases can come into play here. So if you think about an electrical grid, if you drew it up on a whiteboard, what would you draw? You would draw a graph. You can put that same data in a relational database, of course, but in a graph database, there's less of an impedance mismatch between kind of that physical reality and how you're modeling it in the database. And so when you can marry those two things up, it really gives a lot of expressivity to the developers and the other folks that are ultimately using the system, the end users, to be able to actually inquire and search and query that model in a very natural way. So the digital twin idea is something that's, basically actually as old as software itself. It's, people were trying to replicate things in the real world, put together a bill of materials for the Saturn V rocket. That was one of the first graph databases. So it's not a new concept, but I think we're in a particular spot that's very exciting from the databases that we have access to at this point and all the other technologies. So it's really these things that we have now are quite the enabler to moving these digital twins forward.
Yeah, I love that, Ted. And I think, one of the areas, of course, as a company, we talk a lot about is just the importance of that whole digital twin, this nodal graph architecture, real-time database capabilities, energy cloud, a lot of things we use to kind of define this. Is it's so important to where we're going with these concepts of DERMS, distributed energy resource management, where we're managing energy resources in an aggregate way, and then of course even perhaps broader this idea of virtual power plants, where we're beginning to really expand the capabilities to reach beyond the meter and begin to work with assets, loads, like HVAC equipment, and to really begin to increase the efficiency, of the overall grid architecture. One of the things that really excites me about this, Ted, is just how I think everyone in the industry would agree that it's kind of an inefficient process in many ways, and as we look at things like line loss and load factor, it speaks to that. But we have the ability to use these new technologies to do things that we've never done before. And for those who are listening today, Ted, because I'm sure for you, these things seem so almost straightforward. You're able to see very clearly the impacts and the effects of this type of technology. But share with folks, just how they can get started in this journey. How to begin this journey of the digital world that we live in and the smart everything. From your perspective, how does that look, and what do we say to people who are just overwhelmed by this?
Yeah, I think it's to a certain extent, our horizons kind of get set at a fixed distance. So in many cases, I think it's a matter of showing people the possibility and really extending those horizons out further. And so, in the case of digital twins, one of the key enablers of the digital twin is actually integrating many different data sources. And so, one thing that's helpful to do, I think, with people is if you sit down, many people in enterprises are dealing with many different siloed systems. That's not a new thing. That's been how it has been for a long time. And there's been efforts previously, data warehousing and now data lake efforts to kind of consolidate that data. And in many cases, that consolidation ends up being the heart of a digital twin, because in many cases, enterprises have a lot of data that they may need for a digital twin, but it's spread in many different places. But if you can get people together who are traditionally maybe using 5 different systems for something, or they have an outage managed system over here, they have the SCADA system over here, and start to lay out some of the possibilities and real world use cases that they'd be able to do much more efficiently if that data was consolidated within a digital twin, it's usually pretty straightforward for people to make that connection and say, oh, okay, I know I have that over here. I know I have this over here. But if we bring it together, which they may not have thought that that was even possible, potentially, if you can break that wall down and say, no, we can bring it together, then you start to really get the juices flowing, and they can start to think of all sorts of different ideas. So I think it's kind of just helping them get over that initial stumbling block that's easy to get into if you've just been kind of working in that siloed world for so many years.
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice, Ted. And Ted, as I listen to you, I'm reminded that one, we are so excited as a company to have the technology that we have. This, we now have a patent on the technology, the platform as we define it, this EI360 Energy Intelligence Platform. But I'm also reminded that it's not just about the technology. It is truly about people like you who bring that innovation, bring these insights. I would want those who are our current clients and those who are prospective clients to really, appreciate, as I know we do, that what makes NX really, really strong and makes us to where we have something very impactful in the market is not just, our patent technology, but people like yourself who have the ability to bring that knowledge, that understanding. And I go back to that law of the lid. You're raising the lid. Other people in our organization are raising the lid of NX, which in turn, is raising the lid for our company and for our clients we serve. We were yesterday, Ted, in Alabama meeting with some folks, some clients, and a young man was there and sharing, this new technology of metaverse, where, the 3D world and, what's happening in that space. And, of course, we're looking at that as well, and Chat GPT and just, machine learning, all these things we know are converging today. And he made the comment, and he was very excited. He said, it's a great time to be alive. Mm-hmm. And, for folks like myself and probably others that are in my same generation, they're probably saying it's a very a time of anxiety because it's so fast paced and it's moving so quickly. But, when we have people like you and have other people, like Sandi here and others in our organization who bring such amazing talent, you bring tremendous inspiration to myself and I think to others. And what our hope is that what we're doing will be very impactful and meaningful for a lot of our clients. So, I just want you to know we appreciate you and thank you for all that you're doing. And we'll have to have you come back and continue to take a deeper dive on some of these things. But Sandi, with that, I'll turn it back over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ted. I just want to say, David, we're so lucky. We have amazing relationships. Ted, what you shared with us, you do help us constantly look beyond that fixed horizon, and we are grateful for the relationship that Expero brings to enx, and we are grateful for our audience. Thank you so much for joining us today, and that is it. See you next time.